This week's Person of the Week is Zach Graboyes. If you remember, we did a piece with his mom, Trudy, and now we're following up with the man himself about his upcoming book. So meet Zach. So, Zach, welcome to the Haverford 7 show. How you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me here.
Well, congrats on getting the book done. You've been working on this for a while, but tell me a little bit about if people may or may not have seen the segment that I did with your mom. So let's kind of start from the beginning and just kind of tell the story. So this all starts kind of when you're 10 years old, right?
10 years old. I was walking to the town toy store and I had this huge argument with my mom about getting this card game, and we had this huge fight, and she finally said, okay, you can go. And I said, oh my God, I'm so excited. So I think I ran up the stairs, got like $60, and my mom took the wallet from me, and she's like, no.
You don't need that much.
You don't need that much. But I walked out, and I remember my sister, and she's like, Zach, do you want to help me decorate for Halloween? And I was like, no, I'm going to the toy store.
So this is like Halloween time, obviously?
So it was September 30th, so I guess 1 month before Halloween.
Oh, so she started early.
She loves Halloween. I think it's her favorite holiday.
Okay.
But I was walking, 20 minutes later, my mom started hearing sirens, and she became really nervous. It was like, sirens are kind of like a hissing noise in the background, a very kind of a disturbing sound anyway. So she went out and she said, Jen, I'll be right back. I'm going to go find your brother. Stay here unless he comes back. So she went out, started hearing the sirens even louder. She then started to see all of these detour signs, and then she saw this huge police development. There was like 4 or 5 cop cars off to the corner.
Lights flashing,
lights flashing.
Major drama, yeah.
Near Eagle Road, right where Oakmont School used to be, near Wawa.
Right, because you were going over to the Mapes store that used to be there on Eagle Road. Yeah.
Right, and so she stopped and she asked one of the police officers, what's the story, what's going on? And the police officer said, well, there was a little boy, he was hit by a car, and she was like, well, what was he wearing? And the police officer told her, and
put 2 and 2 together pretty quick, and your mom's having a heart attack now.
Probably terrible for any parent. And I remember she got in the cop car, she went home, got my sister, and then they all went up to CHOP. By that point, I was already airbagged.
You were flown by helicopter because you were in pretty bad shape, I hear.
Right, they said I was thrown over 100 feet, which is pretty bad.
Not good, no.
No, and even the person who, I guess, rode the helicopter said, like, this isn't good, we got to get him to the hospital, he's not going to make it.
Right.
And then when I was in the hospital, they immediately put me in the emergency room, and by that point it was nighttime, and all my family was there, and the chances of my recovery were very slim. I then laid in a coma for 9 days. I broke my hip, broke my jaw, fractured my skull, had traumatic brain injury, which now I think the brain is so interesting now.
Well, it is, and I gotta say, I used to work at Bryn Mawr Rehab back in the day, and you are an amazing. There's no way anyone would have a clue. I've spent some time talking to you before we even started recording this, and that's not always the case. Because I've worked with people who've had major problems all their lives afterwards. So, you are absolutely a miraculous recovery here.
Thank you. But I think I'm very lucky. Like you said, a lot of people don't make it out, and I think the reason maybe I'm here because I want to try to help other people as well. But we'll get to that.
We'll get to that
later. But yeah, so I laid in a coma. I broke everything. They did surgery on my jaw, on my leg. They put a plate in my leg. It's funny if you.
So I guess going through the airport is fun for you.
Totally. So then I woke up 9 days later, and I think my dad was in the room, and he was shocked, and I started yawning, and but when you wake up, you don't just wake up.
It's not like Hollywood, Hollywood is like, where am I? No. You go through a lot of different stages of recovery.
So you go through like the anger stage and the sad stage and the repeating stage. I kept saying like, it's opposite day, and my sister's like, what is he talking about? So all these stages, and but eventually I started coming back. So after like a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, I kind of started coming back from those stages, and because I was 10, I was young at the time.
Right.
My brain kind of healed itself very quickly. If you were 30 or 40, then it
right. I was saying that when I was talking to your mom. It's like, we used to say, I mean, if you're going to damage your brain, do it very early, not late, because you actually can recover. Your brain is already kind of rearranging itself all the time, and it can compensate real well. But yeah, you're right. If this happens to you when you're 30 or 40, you're kind of in a lot more trouble, because your brain can't really recover the same way. So
for sure. But when I was in my coma, I had a dream about my grandfather,
which was very cool. Yeah. So tell that story.
When I was in my coma, it was very scary. I remember my grandmother was very scared, and my mom, and everyone was so freaked out. So my grandmother went to my grandfather's gravesite, and she started yelling at the tombstone and saying, "Help him, help him!" And apparently the next day, sometime in my coma, I had this dream about my grandfather, which I still remember to this day. And
yeah, it was real vivid, right? So.
Yeah. So he was sitting on a white cloud, and there's all of these other people who I did not recognize, but they were all kind of dancing and celebrating. And I was kind of in the middle of this whole celebration. And my grandfather came up to me and he said, "Zach, you were hit by a car, but if you want to do this, if you want to get better, you have to do this on your own." And I still remember him saying that. And I think that was kind of the wise words of wisdom that
gave you that inspiration to kind of fight,
But then again, like once I woke up from the coma, I had my family there to help me. My mom slept there every night.
Yeah.
She never left my side. My grandmother was there. And there was also the two great therapists who helped save my life. One of them was the physical therapist, and there were some tough moments. I remember.
I'm sure that's not easy. Yeah, you have to relearn everything. So
I had to relearn how to walk, how to talk. But they were both there to help me. Kristen and Heather, truly a unique breed. I mean,
and you've reconnected with them just recently, because we'll get to the book, but you've been doing all that kind of stuff and connecting with some of the people from the past of this story, right? So.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. I almost think the book in itself is kind of like one big reunion. It's very nostalgic, I guess you could say. But so I spent 2 months in the hospital, totally trying to walk again, how to talk, relearn everything. So that was really the whole physical recovery, was being in the hospital. Very frustrating moments. I had a cast on my leg that went right up
all the way up, because your hip was shattered. Yeah.
And so trying to walk with my leg broken is almost impossible.
Right.
But my mom would sing to me every night, and she would sing me this song from Sweeney Todd, which is so ironic. But,
now we have a barber shop up here called Sweeney Todd.
I know, I saw that. I was like, how am I going in there?
That's right.
No, but she would sing me. It was a very beautiful song that no one's going to harm me.
Right, because your mom's an actress and does musicals and things. Yeah.
Incidentally, she would sing me that even before the accident. I almost think that my accident was almost fate, that I needed to go through it to do something that maybe I was destined for. I always think of that to be part of my recovery. Maybe I'm here to help people. But so she's used to sing to me, and when I woke up, they claimed I came out singing or something. But so I spent 3 months in the hospital, and then once I got out of the hospital, it was kind of day patient care. I would go back every day to the hospital, and I became very attached to the therapist.
Well, of course, yeah. You're spending a lot of time with these people. They're really helping you, and you're 10 years old, so they've become a part of your family at this point.
Completely. And I remember to the point where they said, "Oh, well, he doesn't need to come back anymore. He'll be an outpatient." And I was like, "Outpatient? What's that?" But they told me, "Well, you won't have to come here every day." And it was,
and that was good news for your parents. Or your mom is celebrating. You're like, "No,
I want to see my therapist.
You're taking my therapists away from me."
Yeah, completely. And it was tough. And I remember the last day I had to leave, and I was saying to both of them, I was saying to Kristen and Heather, stay in touch. And they're like, "Oh, okay." And I was like, "No, really, stay in touch." And it was tough, and I had to leave. But then it was that whole emotional recovery, trying to relearn who I was again. And relearn kind of who I am as a person. But I think the first real accomplishment after getting out of the hospital was my bar mitzvah, so in the Jewish tradition, when you're 13, it's like the day you become a man in the Jewish tradition.
Right, right.
And
it's a very cool ritual. I mean, I was raised Catholic, but I mean, it's I've been to a lot of bar mitzvahs, so it's the Jewish tradition has a lot of cool, a lot of cool history and a lot of cool ritual to it. So yeah, but this was a very interesting event that took place at your bar mitzvah.
Absolutely. So it was when I take the Torah out, which is kind of like the Jewish Bible, and when I took it out, a bird came down, and like I heard it from the distance. I was like, what's that? And so I started reading from the Torah, and nothing happened. But then when the rabbi started to read, the bird started chirping like very loudly,
like bring Zach back
to the point where like everyone was looking up and they're like, well, where's this coming from? And it was from the ceiling. And so I was thinking,
so the bird was actually inside.
It was on top of the ceiling.
Oh wow,
that'd be cool if it was inside. So get this bird out of here.
That's right.
But so everyone's like, where's this bird coming from? And I thought like this could be no other than my grandfather. And even my physical therapist was there at the time, and she was thinking this has to be his grandfather.
That's pretty wild.
So that was my first real accomplishment, and I really think the emotional recovery was just all of the milestones of things I needed to relearn and accomplishments. I remember in 11th grade I had to run a race, and everyone was like shocked, like, Zach's running a race? He just broke his leg a year ago.
Yeah, exactly.
And I remember the principal, who knew he was kind of a family friend at the time, said like, I can't believe you ran that race. And it was kind of that like proof that he's coming back.
Well, yeah.
Because I always used to run before. And then it was just that emotional recovery of like thinking, who am I? Am I the same? Am I different? And just learning everything, learning my friends. And one of my friends was really there to help me, and I kept saying, like, am I different? I just don't remember being different from before my accident. Do I have the same personality? And it was kind of that insecurity that was really...
Well, we were talking before we started recording. I mean, you'd be changing anyway, right? Because you're at an age where things are changing a lot, and you're heading into, adolescence, and I mean your brain, it would have been changing even without all this, but you have to focus on it because you've had this dramatic event, and people are kind of looking at you differently, and you're looking at yourself differently than a typical person, I guess. But
absolutely. And she was there. She kept saying, no, you're only different if you say you're different, and you're here, don't worry about it.
Good advice.
But made me feel very good. And then it was just graduating middle school and high school, and it became like, wow, I did all of this, I can't believe it. And in high school, I really thought about, I should start writing a book about my being hit by a car, and I want to tell people, and I want to help people. So I wrote it and rewrote it until I got to college. And
right, now you're a student at Penn State.
Penn State University. Yeah. And now I'm studying, I guess, outdoor recreation.
And you're doing really well, right? I mean, you're not just you don't have to brag, but your mom was bragging for you that you're actually not just a student, you're a very good student there.
Well,
so.
I guess I like to study, but I think it's only because it's a passionate thing. I love the outside, and we get to do a lot of really cool things, from hold owls to spend a whole week with kids and teach them all about nature. And I think that also kind of became a passion of mine after being hit by a car, was trying to influence a child's life, and how can I help a child?
You had that experience with your therapists really helping you, and I guess that kind of imprinted in your mind, really, and you have such an inspirational story, actually, because I mean, it has such a happy ending, essentially. Not that it's over, we're sort of not even in the middle of your story yet, but it's got a great arc there of starting with this big, tragic, frightening event, and getting to a place where you can write a book about it and envision yourself having a career where you help children and do other things. So I mean, I think it's awesome.
Definitely. And I'll be in touch with I'll be going to CHOP next week to try to set a meeting to try to figure out how I can help kids at CHOP. And I've been in touch. I just spoke to my middle school gym teacher like yesterday about this whole project, and so I have part of Haverford trying to get on board with it. So it's turning into a really cool thing, and
it is, and so you've got the book done now. I mean, it's actually physically been printed, so you were just showing me a copy, and it goes through the whole story and the journey. And where does the book sort of end up? I mean,
Right.
what's the end of the story in the book anyway?
Right. So again, like you said, there's no, I guess, real ending.
Right.
So I
Yeah,
kind of...
this is just the first version of the book. You're gonna have to write multiple versions as you kind of progress in your life here. You know.
Part 2 will be on
Exactly.
3 years, right?
And you'll have a whole serial. You know.
No, but so I left it. I just kind of was narrating at the end, saying, and now I write this last chapter in the library of my university, and I claimed this like last sentence saying, it's our challenges that help our achievements in life, and this is one challenge that I hope that will help my achievement in my life. And so the whole book is set out to do that. So if someone reads it, if they're going through any kind of turmoil, even if it's a parent, it doesn't have to be a child, they can look at it and say like, wow, he recovered from that. Maybe my child, or maybe I can recover from this horrible turmoil that I'm going through. But I hope to give that to CHOP and donate this book to CHOP and hopefully save a child's life there as well.
That's fantastic. I mean, it really is a powerful story. I'm glad you've written the book. I mean, we'll put the links to how people can get a copy if they want to, right in the post that goes with this video and stuff. But
definitely,
yeah, it's truly an inspirational story. I think you are destined for great things here, and this is sort of just the start of it. I mean, so you're going to have to write, volume 2 and 3 and maybe even 4 along the way here if you keep going down this path here.
I know. So. My mom jokes. She was like, "We should make a movie out of it. Meryl Streep will play me."
That's right. Who's going to play you? Who's going to play Zach?
I don't know.
You haven't picked out your actor?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. So if you're looking for an acting gig, Zach hasn't closed the door yet. You could still, get the part.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I appreciate you, sharing this story with us.
Absolutely.
And like I said, the book is out. We'll put some information about that up here.
For sure.
Any closing thoughts, or is that about where we're at now?
I think that's where we're at. I hope people read it and find hope from the book, and thank you for having me there.
Excellent. Well, there you have it. Your person of the week is Zach Graboyes.